9 of the fantasy baseball season, and he has a few batters on the rise this week. The first guy's Matt Olson of the Oakland Athletics, so we know the young power hitter. We've seen it the last few seasons, 30-plus home run power from Olson, and this season he's on a good tear once again, 14 home runs, 37 RBIs, 34 runs scored, a 274 batting average, and a 361 on base. But the last few weeks here, Olson, he's definitely hitting the ball well, and he's showing power and average in this time. 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 13 runs scored, a 319 batting average, and a 424 on base. So right here, he's going out there, and he's been a huge catalyst once again this season for this Oakland Athletic team. And on the season, his ranking on the year is 30th, but the last few weeks it's 5th. So he's definitely rising up. He's definitely producing. And he's a guy, if he's on your fantasy team, you pretty much can pencil him in each and every season, like I mentioned, for 30 to 90 and 100 RBIs. So the last few games here for Olson: May 29th versus the Angels, 0 for 3. May 30th versus the Angels, 0 for 2. May 31st at Seattle, 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. June 1st at Seattle, 2 for 4, a homer, 3 RBIs and 2 runs. And then June 2nd, 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. So right now he's hitting the baseball well, and it's good to see Olson producing. Yeah, I expect him to have a huge series starting tonight at Coors Field in Colorado, where that batting average will go up even more, and the home runs, we could see multiple homers in this series here for Olson. So he's definitely on the rise. The next hitter is Pavin Smith of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Smith, he was a recommended ad on the waiver wire here in week 9 of the season. And he obviously qualifies at first and outfield, and has been a hot pickup, added in 24% of fantasy leagues. And on the season here for Smith, 5 home runs, 21 RBIs, 33 runs scored, a 290 batting average, and a 340 on base. But the last couple weeks here, his ranking is 7th overall in fantasy baseball. 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 417 batting average, and a 481 on base with 11 runs scored. So this Diamondback team, obviously they're not that good of a team this season, and they're pretty much in a rebuilding phase, which they've been in the last couple seasons, I believe. But here, Pavin Smith, he's getting an opportunity each and every day to go out there and play for this team. And right now, he's really coming to in his zone. They struggle in the early part of the season, and he's batting 5th for this team. So the last few games for Smith: May 29th versus St. Louis, 3 for 4 with a run. May 30th, 1 for 2 with a run versus St. Louis. May 31st versus the Mets, 1 for 4 with a run. June 1st versus the Mets, 1 for 4, a homer, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. And June 2nd versus the Mets, 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored. So Smith, he's hitting the baseball well. He's finding more ways than just a home run to be productive in fantasy. And he's scoring a lot of runs as well. So right now, he's definitely rising up the ranking board. And this guy, I could see him continuing to have a productive season. The next hitter is Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves. So Albies, he got off to a tough start, but a professional hitter and a good ball player with a lot of talent like this. We just knew he was going to break out of a slump, and I've been saying that for weeks about him. So on the season, 9 home runs, 30 RBIs, 32 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 241 batting average, and a 315 on base. But the last couple weeks here for Albies, he's ranked 6th overall in fantasy baseball. 3 homers, 12 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, a 308 batting average, 400 on base, and 10 runs scored. So right here, he's getting on base a lot. He's had 3 multiple hit games in his last 3 ball games as Albies. And it was just a matter of time, like I mentioned. The guy with this talent was going to break out and get out of the doldrums in a low 200 batting average. So the last few games here for Albies: May 29th at the Mets, 1 for 3 with an RBI. May 31st versus Washington, 0 for 3 with a run. June 1st versus Washington, 2 for 5, an RBI and a run. June 2nd versus Washington, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. June 3rd versus Washington yesterday, 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a stolen base, and a run. So right now, he's going out there, he's producing, and this guy, he's definitely rising up the ranking boards, and he's going to have a huge second half as well, in my opinion, in fantasy baseball. The next hit is Cooper of the Miami Marlins. So Cooper, another recommended ad over the last couple weeks here off the waiver wire. So on the season for Cooper, 5 home runs, 21 RBIs, 17 runs scored, a 260 batting average, and a 333 on base. But the last couple weeks, he's ranked 15th in this time here. 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 429 batting average, and a 500 on base. So Cooper, in the last 2 weeks, he's been on base half his at-bats, and that's a hard thing to do. And he's producing for this Marlin team. And last season, he got a taste of almost A, but this season, he's playing every day, and he's batting cleanup for this Marlin team. So the last few games here for Gary Cooper: May 28th at Boston, 0 for 2. May 29th at Boston, 2 for 5. May 30th, they got rained out at Boston. June 1st at Toronto, 1 for 3. June 2nd at Toronto, 0 for 4. So Cooper, his numbers the last couple games haven't been all that great, but over the last 2 weeks span, like I mentioned, he's tearing the cover off the ball. He's producing, and he's definitely a player on the rise. This week here is Cooper, and the fifth and final batter on the rise this week, Evan Longoria of the San Francisco Giants. So Longoria, I mentioned him as a player on the rise last week, but it's just continuing right now. Even though Longoria has come down with an intercostal strain here over the last couple of days, so hopefully that intercostal strain don't cost him time and where he's got to go on the injured list. So on the season here for Longoria, 9 home runs, 29 RBIs, 26 runs scored, 274 batting average, a 360 on base. But the last couple weeks here, he's ranked 3rd in fantasy baseball. 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, 8 runs scored, a 405 batting average, and a 450 on base. So right there, those are some huge numbers here for Evan Longoria. And it's good to see the old vet here go up to the bat and produce for this San Francisco Giant team. And now I know he sat out the last 2 games with the intercostal strain, but he's been producing. He's been playing well. And right now, whoever picked him up on waivers, they're definitely paying dividends for their fantasy team with the addition of Evan Longoria. So the last few games for him: May 27th at the Dodgers, 1 for 4 with a homer. May 28th at the Dodgers, 1 for 1 in a pinch hit with 2 RBIs. May 29th at the Dodgers, 2 for 5, a homer, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. May 30th at the Dodgers, 1 for 5 with an RBI. May 31st versus the Angels, 2 for 2 with a homer and 2 ribbies. And like I mentioned, he sat out the last 2 games as Longoria, but right now he's producing. I know he's up there in age, and hopefully this injury don't keep him down and he keeps things going here, is Longoria. So that's a few hitters on the rise here in week 9 of the fantasy baseball season.